Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tim Kirby Russia. Weird daytime edition. I know, it's weird seeing actual daylight here in the studio. But anyways, there's an issue I want to talk about, but not for too long, but I think it's important, but not really live stream worthy. And that's the elections in Moldova and their big referendum. And it's very important, but not a huge topic, and that's why I don't want any calls getting in the way. So anyways, let's talk about this. Now, one of the problems that Moldova has, like any sort of buffer state between great civilizations, especially between the West and Russia, is the fact that there's basically there's accusations of total manipulation of an electoral nature on both sides, both the pro-Russian and pro-Western sides of the presidential election and the EU referendum naturally accuse each other of total falsification, total manipulation, and so on and so forth, right? So when you think about how actually, unfortunately, Moldova is a fairly poor country with a weak political system smashed between these two giant civilizations, it sort of raises the question of can these sort of buffer states ever actually have real sovereignty? My answer would be probably not. So anyways, let's just say that like I believe it's the famous 1949 Italian election right after World War II, where it was a battle of American versus Soviet bribe money to see which way Italy would go in the future, and American bribe money won out. And this is no secret, this is no conspiracy theory, it's very open. And I think we're kind of seeing in Moldova sort of a 1949 Italian scenario probably potentially playing out, at least certainly from the West perspective, because they definitely want Moldova to be part of the EU and not become, let's just say, back in Russia's orbit, which is actually somewhat possible because if you look on the map of the war of Ukraine, the Kherson region, which Russia has mostly taken over, borders Odessa, and there's been a lot of, the Odessa region anyways, and there's been a lot of talk that Odessa is a historical Russian city and the Russians might try to take it back. And what borders Odessa? Moldova. So Moldova has become a lot closer physically to Russia than it has been since the Soviet Union, when it was sort of interconnected with it completely. But anyways, so what we have here is we have this electoral map to my side, and this blue smidge in the middle is sort of around the capital city, which I believe in English is something like Chisinau, but in Russian it's Kishinev. That I know for sure. And around Kishinev, basically you can see that they were able to get enough votes to get enough votes or get the right votes counted or whatever to achieve a result where over 50%, but actually less than 51% of the people in these blue regions voted to join the EU. So, first off, one of the problems is with this, with a referendum like this, is when you put the bar at 50%. I understand how that makes sense, majority rules and all that, but when the result is like 50 point something to 49 point something, that is not a definitive result, and that could also be not the best for Moldova's future. You can also see that there's such a strong regional divide here in Moldova. That's also not a very good sign, especially when if you sort of look in your mind to the east could potentially be Russia, and you see sort of the central west of Moldova, which touches the EU, which touches Romania, is against. Well, that's a ripe situation for disintegration. Unfortunately, I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom here. Hopefully, democratic values will win out and such a scenario won't play out, but this seems ripe for the country to maybe be divided, because there's been in Moldova, for those who don't know, there's kind of a debate whether the Moldovan culture and language actually exist. Some people say it's just Romanians that have been sort of manipulated by being part of or closer to Russia into sort of convincing themselves they're something else. Kind of in the same way that Russians feel like the Ukrainians have been duped into a fake ethnicity that was always just a subdivision of Russians. But anyways, That's the way things are, and who knows? So perhaps the urbanites there in the capital city could potentially go back to Romania if they start to see themselves as being Romanians and not so much Moldovans. But anyways, these results worry me because it really sets the stage for the same kind of BS that is happening in Ukraine. And what's happening in Ukraine is a horrific tragedy that was completely avoidable, and yet it continues to this day. So, very sad. And also, you have to remember that the very, very eastern sort of corner side of Moldova is also the Transnistria, where there are actually some Russian forces as part of the agreements of how the Soviet Union broke up. Yeah, so anyways, Moldova could play a very key role because if it's joining the EU, and Moldova is not at war, although it does have foreign troops on its territory that are not NATO troops. I don't know how that would affect its ascension to NATO or something, but I think a lot of people in NATO don't care. So this could be the next step towards Moldova joining NATO, which again would be very bad for their health and future as, if it seems like a lot of people in Western power centers don't care how many Ukrainians it takes, dead Ukrainians it takes to get the job done, I don't think that they're going to have much or lose much sleep over a lot of dead Moldovans. Very sad, but I think that is the case. So, yeah, there could be an ascension to NATO connected with this because, again, bureaucratic logic. If we won the referendum for the EU, thus that also means we're going to join NATO and we're going to fully integrate. Or at the very least, guys, what could we really see in Moldova in the near future? Well, there's the whole thing about the Lisbon Treaty, which unfortunately I've only read the first few pages of. I'm a bad analyst. That's the whole sort of justification of why there's migrant mania. And I have a strong feeling the Moldovans are going to have to sign that Lisbon Treaty. And Maya Sandu, the returning president, who she was president, she just got her mandate sort of restored. Her victory was much more solid than the victory over the for the EU referendum, and I think that she'll be willing to sign off on something like a Lisbon Treaty. And I would not be surprised if Moldova just gets absolutely flooded with some sort of refugees or whoever. Why? Because that is a good cover to get more forces to fight the evil Russians. That's very well. Again, Brussels, London, Washington, Paris, Berlin, none of these see any value in the human life of people in Eastern Europe. Zero. Be they Slavs, be they Moldovans, who are a lot of Slavs, and then a lot of people of a sort of Romance language background, they don't care. They're just meat for the cause. And so I do think we could see potentially the migrant hordes being moved towards Moldova to be used against the Russians, whether as some sort of terrorists or grunts or whatever. So definitely, and also because wherever there's a million migrants, there can also be all sorts of horrors and crimes, whatever, to destabilize the region, and it can be used for whatever it wants. It could become sort of if Kosovo was sort of the entity to keep the Balkans completely broken up and keep the Serbs down, who knows? Maybe they'll try to turn Moldova into the Kosovo Albania or something 2.0. So anyways, this is not good. It would be great if Moldova could stay neutral, but remember, there's really no true neutrality. So I would say soft pro-Russian, or I should say scared out of its pants to take any action of any kind and just continue making wine. But that is not the case. Moldova is in deep doo-doo, friends, and this is going to have an effect on the war in Ukraine for sure. That's one thing I can guarantee you. Maybe we can't predict with absolute certainty, but this EU ascension is definitely going to have an effect on the way the war looks, as Moldova will be a lot less closed off from the rest of the Western universe as it has been for the last few decades. So we'll see where this goes, friends, but I am not feeling good about this one. Anyways, Tim Kirby Russia signing out. Remember to like and subscribe this channel. It doesn't hurt you to subscribe, so why don't you do it? It helps me out. It helps you out because you receive low quality but highly informative content from Russia. Anyways, take care, friends. All the best, and let's hope that actually I'm wrong and this referendum in Moldova leads to nothing changing and people in Moldova go on living their lives and no one dies. That'd be awesome.